When we talk about focusing on ourselves, it's not about being selfish or shutting the world out. Not at all. It's about waking up to the truth that the most important and lifelong project you'll ever work on is you. You see, we often find ourselves staring outward, watching what others are doing, what they've achieved, how perfect their lives appear from the outside. And slowly, without even realizing it, we lose sight of the incredible potential that's been quietly living inside us all along. Imagine this for a second. What if all the time and energy we've spent comparing, scrolling, and getting distracted was instead channeled into building the best version of ourselves? That one shift in perspective, just one, can completely change the game. Life has this relentless way of pulling us in every direction at once. Work demands our attention. Family needs us. Friends reach out. And society, it never stops whispering in our ears, telling us what we should be doing. We're constantly bombarded with information, opinions, and expectations. It gets noisy, really noisy. But somewhere underneath all that chaos, there's a quiet voice, our inner voice, that often gets drowned out. Yet, that voice knows. It knows what we truly need, who we truly are, and where we're meant to go. Focusing on yourself means tuning in to that voice. It means realizing that investing in yourself isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. Every moment you choose to learn something new, to read a book, to reflect on your journey, that's you adding value to you. Every hour you spend exercising, meditating, or simply caring for your mental well-being is an investment. And like all smart investments, the returns come, maybe not right away, but over time, they show up as confidence, as resilience, and as opportunities you never even imagined were possible. See, focusing on yourself is about growth, not in some straight, predictable line, but in a deep, meaningful, personal way. It's not just about ticking goals off a list. It's about evolving day by day as a human being. When you spend time discovering who you are, you begin to uncover what truly lights you up inside. You start recognizing your strengths, your passions, and yes, even your weaknesses. And that kind of clarity, it's powerful, because with it, you make better choices, ones that align with your real purpose, not just what the world expects of you. Of course, it's not always easy, is it? There are days when focusing on yourself feels like climbing a steep hill, alone. It can feel uncomfortable, because growth often is. It requires discipline, and sometimes it means saying no to things, to people. So, as we touched on earlier, focusing on yourself sometimes means making hard choices. It means learning to say no when needed, even if it feels uncomfortable. But why? Because not everything deserves your time, your energy, or your peace. When you start putting yourself first, it's not always about choosing what's easy. It's about choosing what's right for you. That often means walking away from the noise, distancing yourself from situations, or even people that quietly drain your energy. It's about valuing what nourishes you, even when it's not popular or convenient. And yes, it might mean stepping away from the crowd, walking a different path, and dealing with that nagging fear of missing out. But here's the truth. The rewards of this path are absolutely worth it. Because when you truly commit to focusing on yourself, you begin to build something solid, an inner foundation strong enough to withstand whatever life throws your way. And life will throw challenges. It always does. But when you've done the inner work, when you've been showing up for yourself consistently, you become unshakable. That strength doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from within. You'll find yourself handling setbacks with more grace, bouncing back faster, and seeing failure not as the end, but as part of the process. You stop fearing the storm, and instead, you learn to dance in the rain. And here's the most beautiful part. This journey isn't just about you. The more you grow, the more your growth ripples outward. You become a quiet force of inspiration. The people around you, friends, family, even strangers, start to see your light, and in turn, feel encouraged to find their own. Your strength uplifts others. Your clarity helps guide those who feel lost. Just by living your truth, you set an example of what's possible. But don't forget, focusing on yourself isn't a one and done moment. It's not something you check off a to-do list and walk away from. It's a lifelong journey. There will be days when you lose sight of it, when you drift off course. That's okay. What matters is that you come back. Come back to yourself. Keep learning, keep evolving, keep nurturing your mind, your body, and your soul. Every single day is a fresh chance to do just a little better, to shift your focus back to what truly matters, to release the habits, the thoughts, the obligations that no longer serve you, and to make space for the things that do. It's not about being perfect, it's about showing up for you, especially on the hard days, especially when it feels like the last thing you want to do. Because here's the truth, you are filled with so much untapped potential. You have gifts, unique, powerful gifts that the world needs. But before you can offer them to anyone else, you have to cultivate them. You have to give yourself the time, the grace, and the freedom to grow. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you feel ready, because chances are that moment won't magically arrive. Start now. Start right where you are, with whatever you have. You deserve the same love, care, and effort that you so often give to others. You deserve to chase your dreams, to pursue your goals, and to build a life that feels truly aligned with who you are. Because the time you pour into yourself, it is never wasted. It's the greatest gift you'll ever give, to yourself and to the world. So today, make that promise, not to anyone else, just to you. Decide that from this moment forward, your peace, your growth, and your happiness are worth prioritizing. Decide that you are worthy of becoming everything you were meant to be. And if, one day, you ever find yourself needing a reminder of where to begin. In the last section, we reminded ourselves of this simple but powerful truth. You are enough, just as you are. But that doesn't mean you stop there. It means you begin. Begin with belief. Begin with intention. Because you are capable of so much more than you realize. So start here. Invest in yourself. Stay committed to your path. And as you do, something beautiful begins to happen. Everything around you slowly starts to shift. Your mindset sharpens. Your energy changes. Your goals come into focus. Why? Because the best is still ahead of you. The best is yet to come. But here's the challenge. We live in a world full of noise. Distractions are everywhere. It seems like the moment we sit down with good intentions, something steals our attention. Our phones buzz. Notifications ping. A quick glance becomes a scroll. And suddenly, an hour has vanished. Sound familiar? It's all too easy to get swept away by things that don't really matter. Tiny time wasters that slowly pull us away from what truly does. Before we even notice it, we're further from our goals, and we can't quite explain where the time went. If we're not careful, life becomes a blur of small interruptions that keep us from living with clarity and intention. And here's the thing, distractions aren't always obvious. Sure, social media and binge-watching shows are common culprits, but distractions can also hide in everyday moments. The unnecessary conversations we entertain, the gossip we pass along, or the mental loops we run over and over in our heads. Sometimes, the loudest distractions come from within, the overthinking, the self-doubt, the fear that whispers, "What if I'm not good enough?" These internal distractions are often the hardest to spot and the hardest to overcome. We're living in a culture that rewards speed and instant gratification. Everything is right at our fingertips, just one tap away. And in this world, the line between being productive and just staying busy becomes dangerously thin. You might sit down with the intention of doing something important, but before you know it, you've lost an hour to random videos, news feeds, or non-urgent emails. And afterwards, you're left feeling drained, scattered, and wondering where the day disappeared to. One of the reasons distractions are so powerful is because they offer a quick escape. When life gets hard, when goals seem far away, or the journey feels overwhelming, it's tempting to reach for something, anything that will make us feel good right now. But that comfort, it's temporary. It doesn't move us forward. It doesn't create change. It simply delays our progress and keeps us stuck in place. That's why we need to get intentional, really intentional, about what we allow into our lives and our minds. It means setting boundaries. It means learning to say no, not just to others, but to ourselves, to that part of us that's always looking for the easy way out. It means noticing when something is pulling us off course and having the discipline to gently but firmly steer ourselves back. It's not always easy, no, but every time you choose focus over distraction, you're choosing your future. You're casting a vote for the life you actually want. You might think, it's just a few minutes. But those minutes add up. Day by day, week by week, they become the difference between making real progress or constantly feeling stuck, wondering why things never seem to change. Because when we let distractions run our lives, we're giving away our most precious resource, time. And time, well, once it's gone, there's no getting it back. In the last part, we talked about how time is our most valuable resource. Once it's gone, there's no getting it back. That's exactly why we have to guard it fiercely. Not casually, not occasionally, fiercely. One of the most effective ways to protect your time and fight back against constant distractions is to intentionally create an environment that supports your focus. It starts with the physical space around you. If you're trying to get something meaningful done, set yourself up for success. Clear the clutter, close those extra tabs, put your phone on silent, or better yet, put it out of sight. Let the people around you know that you need uninterrupted time. It's not selfish, it's strategic. But the environment isn't just about where you sit. It's also about the habits you build. Create routines that support your intention. For example, set specific times to check messages or scroll through social media, instead of letting them hijack your day at random. When you take control of your surroundings, you take control of your focus, and focus is power. Another key strategy, be mindful of who you spend your time with. Your energy is influenced by the people around you more than you might think. Surround yourself with those who respect your focus, who lift you up, and who want to see you grow. There will always be people who try to pull you into their chaos, their drama, their distractions, but you don't have to follow. You don't have to engage in every conversation or show up to every situation that drains you. It's not rude to protect your peace, it's wise. Your focus is too valuable to waste on noise, negativity, or things that don't serve your growth, and it's not just the outside world we have to be cautious of. Some of the most stubborn distractions come from within. Our own thoughts can become loops of worry, doubt, or overthinking. If we're not careful, we get trapped in our heads, spinning, stalling, stuck. So what can you do? Ground yourself. Seriously, pause. Take a few deep breaths. Write down the thoughts that are racing through your mind, or simply step away for a moment of quiet. Sometimes, clarity doesn't come from thinking more. It comes from creating space for stillness. When the mind is calm, focus becomes easier, sharper, stronger. Learning to manage both external and internal distractions is part of what it means to truly focus on yourself and your goals. It's not about being perfect. It's not about never getting sidetracked. It's about noticing when you do, and gently, without judgment, guiding yourself back. It's about valuing your time and potential so deeply that you no longer let distractions rob you of either. Because when you look back on your life, you won't remember the hours you spent mindlessly scrolling or giving in to things that didn't matter. What you will remember are the moments you showed up fully, the goals you accomplished, the personal milestones, the impact you made. And those moments, they're built through focus, through the daily decision to grow instead of choosing comfort, again and again. Each new day gives us the opportunity to choose differently. to choose focus over distraction, to fix our eyes on what's ahead instead of everything swirling around us. And with every small choice, we build something: momentum, character, and a life that reflects the best of who we are and what we're capable of. So the next time a distraction tries to pull you away, pause. Ask yourself, is this worth my time? Does it move me closer to the life I want? If the answer is no, let it go, because your time is limited, your dreams are real, and your potential, it's far too great to waste. Previously, we talked about protecting your time and focus, because those are the building blocks of real growth. Now let's talk about where you're aiming all that energy, because without direction, even the most focused effort can lead you in circles. And that's exactly why setting clear goals is absolutely essential. Think about it. Trying to move forward in life without clear goals is like trying to drive to a new destination without a map, or even a sense of direction. Sure, you might eventually end up somewhere, but chances are it won't be where you truly wanted to go. Goals give you clarity, they give you purpose, they turn vague wishes into specific plans, and those plans into real, measurable action. We all have dreams, whether it's landing a better job, improving our health, deepening our relationships, or simply finding more peace and balance. But wanting something and getting it, those are two very different things. The bridge between where you are right now and where you want to be is built with goals. Clear, specific, concrete goals. They're your personal roadmap. And with every step you take toward them, you get closer to the life you've imagined. But here's the key. A goal can't just be a wish or a vague intention. It has to be specific. Instead of saying, I want to be healthier, try, I will exercise for 30 minutes, 5 times a week. That's tangible. Instead of saying, I want to save money, say, I will put aside $200 each month for the next year. Suddenly, the goal is no longer a concept. It's a commitment, something you can see, track, and measure. Specific goals leave no room for confusion or excuses. You know exactly what needs to be done, and that kind of clarity is powerful, but that's not all. Goals also need to be realistic. Dreaming big is great, it's necessary. But if your goals feel too distant or too overwhelming, they can actually demotivate you. That's why it's important to break big dreams into smaller, achievable steps. That's where momentum begins to build. Each small win fuels the next. You start seeing progress, you feel capable, and from there, confidence grows. It's like stacking bricks. One by one, you build something strong and lasting. Accountability is another piece that makes goals stick. When you make a goal, own it. Write it down, say it out loud, share it with someone you trust. It doesn't matter how you do it. What matters is that your goal goes from just a thought in your head to something real in the world. This creates a quiet sense of responsibility, a commitment not just to the task, but to yourself. And here's something we often overlook: the role of time. Time can be your greatest ally or your sneakiest enemy. It all depends on how you use it. That's why deadlines matter. When you put a timeline on a goal, you create urgency. You give it weight. You stop telling yourself, I'll get to it someday. Because let's be honest, someday is where dreams go to die. When you say someday, that day rarely shows up. But when you say, by the end of this month, or by July 1st, you've created a date with your future self. It sharpens your focus. It keeps procrastination at bay. Now, even with clear goals, the road won't always be smooth. Life throws curveballs. Plans get shaken. That's normal. What matters most is how you respond when that happens. The beauty of having a clear goal is that even if you veer off track, you know how to get back. You can reassess, adjust, and keep moving. A setback isn't the end. It's just a bend in the road. In the end, one of the greatest gifts of clear goal setting is the focus it brings to your everyday life. When you know what you're working toward, it becomes easier to say no to distractions, temptations, or anything that doesn't align with your purpose. In the last part, we explored how setting clear goals gives your time and energy direction. And now here's the real magic. Once you've got that clarity, distractions start to lose their power. Because suddenly, you're not just drifting through your days, you're on a mission. Your time becomes too valuable to waste. Your energy becomes something you protect, not something you casually give away. And those goals you've set, they act like a filter, helping you quickly separate what's important from what's just noise. Goals give your efforts purpose. They turn everyday actions into meaningful steps forward. And even on the tough days, the days where motivation is low or life feels heavy, having that clear sense of direction makes all the difference. Because when you know what you're working toward, every step feels like progress. Even when the road gets rocky, you begin to look back and realize just how far you've come, and that sense of accomplishment becomes fuel. It powers you through the next mile, the next challenge, the next moment of doubt. And let's not forget the joy, that deep, almost indescribable joy of actually reaching a goal. There's something incredibly rewarding about setting a clear intention, putting in the consistent work, and then watching it all come to life. It's not just about achieving the outcome. It's about the transformation that happens along the way. You build discipline, you build resilience, you begin to trust yourself more. With every goal you accomplish, you gather proof, real, undeniable proof that you are capable, that you can follow through, that you do have what it takes to create a life that's meaningful to you. Setting clear goals isn't just another task on your to-do list. It's a declaration. It's standing tall and saying, I am in control of my life. I know what I want, and I'm willing to do the work to get there. That shift in mindset, it changes everything. So if you haven't already, now is the time. Take a moment. Set some clear goals. Be specific. Be realistic. And above all, be honest with yourself. Write your goals down, on paper, in your phone, wherever you'll see them. Revisit them often. Let them guide your choices, big and small. Because when your goals are clear, your path forward becomes clear too. And that path, it leads to a life filled with purpose, progress, and real fulfillment. But even when we're focused, even when we're clear on where we're going, there's still a trap many of us fall into without even noticing. In the last part, we talked about setting clear goals and staying focused on your path. But even with the best intentions, there's a subtle trap that can quietly pull you off course. Comparison. Comparison has a way of stealing our focus without us even realizing it. It shifts our attention away from our own journey and places it squarely on someone else's. And when we're constantly watching what others are doing, we're not giving our own dreams and goals the energy and commitment they truly deserve. It's like trying to run a race while staring sideways. You lose balance, you slow down, you stumble, not because you can't run, but because you're too busy watching someone else. The truth is, every single person's journey is different. We each begin in different places, with different challenges, different experiences, and different resources. Just because someone else is achieving something now doesn't mean you won't achieve something incredible in your own time. Life isn't a competition. It's not about who gets there first or who shines the brightest. It's about becoming better than you were yesterday. It's about progress. It's about your growth. But the problem with comparison is this. We often measure our worst moments against someone else's highlight reel. We see their wins and forget their struggles. We focus on their strengths and magnify our own weaknesses. And that's never a fair comparison. It's like comparing apples and oranges, and then wondering why you're not enough. But you are enough, because you bring something completely unique to the table. Your gifts, your voice, your story, they matter. And no one else can walk your path but you. So instead of constantly looking outward, bring your attention back home. Focus on what you bring to the table. Focus on your potential, your progress, your possibilities. And let's be real. Comparison isn't just something that happens quietly in our minds. It's everywhere, especially on social media. we scroll past perfectly curated posts, dream, vacations, promotions, glowing smiles. And we forget that behind every photo, there's a story we don't see. We don't see the sleepless nights, the self-doubt, the moments they wanted to give up. No one's life is as perfect as it looks online. Everyone is dealing with something, and sometimes the people who look the happiest are the ones fighting the hardest battles behind the scenes. So, here's a thought. What if we flip the script? What if instead of letting someone else's success make us feel small, we let it inspire us? What if we chose motivation over envy? Because the truth is, someone else succeeding doesn't take anything away from your potential. There's room for all of us to win. When we celebrate others, we build a community where inspiration flows freely, where support replaces silent resentment, where success becomes something we share, not something we compete for. At the end of the day, the only person you should ever compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. That's where the real growth happens. That's the only race that truly matters. Ask yourself, am I growing? Am I learning? Am I moving forward, even just a little, each day? Those are the questions that lead to real progress. Because comparison, it's a detour, a distraction. It pulls you away from your own path. And sometimes it's a sign that something deeper needs your attention. When we feel insecure about where we are, it's natural to look around and measure ourselves against others. But that feeling, that's not a cue to look outward. It's a sign to turn inward. Previously, we explored how comparison distracts us from our growth, and how turning inward allows us to reclaim our focus. Now, let's take that shift one step further, from comparison to action. Instead of asking, why are they ahead? Try asking, what can I do to move forward? That question changes everything. It shifts your mindset from feeling stuck to stepping into possibility. Instead of wondering why someone else has what you want, turn your attention toward what you can do right now to move in that direction. When you stop feeding comparison and start fueling action, you begin to take your power back. There's an incredible freedom that comes from letting go of the need to measure yourself against others. You stop chasing someone else's timeline and start honoring your own. You gain the space to appreciate how far you've come, instead of constantly feeling like you're not enough. And in that space, something beautiful happens. You begin to notice your own progress. You begin to see clearly what actually matters to you. You set goals that feel aligned with your values, not driven by external pressure or unrealistic expectations. That clarity allows you to move with intention and purpose. And here's where the real shift occurs. When you let go of comparison, you open the door to authentic happiness. Not the kind that comes from keeping up or winning, but the kind that comes from living a life that's honest, meaningful, and true to you. You stop chasing validation and start recognizing the good that's already present in your life. You notice the small wins. You appreciate the moments. You become grateful for your journey, your growth, your experiences, and all the lessons along the way. And gratitude? That's powerful. It transforms your outlook. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's already here. It grounds you in the present. It reminds you that even if you're not there yet, you're still moving forward. You're still learning. You're still becoming. So the next time you catch yourself slipping into comparison, pause, take a breath, step back, and remind yourself you are on your own path. It's okay if it looks different. It's supposed to. You are exactly where you need to be right now. Keep focusing on your progress. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small. Keep moving forward, one step at a time. Because when you focus on your own journey, you begin to create a life that's meaningful, purposeful, and entirely your own. But here's the thing. Sometimes, even when we're clear on our path, even when we're grateful and moving forward, we still find ourselves feeling stuck. And more often than not, it's because we're holding on to something that no longer serves us. One of the biggest challenges in personal growth is letting go. letting go of habits that no longer help us, mindsets that keep us stuck, relationships that drain our energy, even physical clutter that creates mental chaos. We hold on to these things because they're familiar, because they feel safe, because change, real change, can be uncomfortable. But here's a question worth asking. What if the weight you're carrying is exactly what's holding you back? In the last part, we talked about how growth often requires letting go of the old, the familiar, the things that no longer serve who you're becoming. Now let's dig deeper. What exactly is holding you back? Maybe it's a habit you've outgrown, something that once brought comfort, but now only creates stagnation. Or maybe it's a thought pattern, a voice in your head that keeps replaying the same limiting belief over and over. It might even be a relationship, one that slowly drains your energy, distracts you from your goals, or keeps you small when you're trying to grow. Whatever it is, the first step is recognizing it. Because here's the truth, growth needs space, real, open, intentional space. Imagine trying to plant a garden in soil that's overrun with weeds. No matter how much sunlight or water you give it, nothing new can thrive until the old is cleared out. The same goes for your life. If you want to welcome in new opportunities, fresh perspectives, and deeper growth, you have to make room. You have to let go of what's cluttering your mind, your environment, and your spirit. And sometimes, what needs clearing isn't visible at all. It's not physical, and it's not external. It's internal. It's those deeply embedded beliefs we carry around without question. Maybe you've told yourself, "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never be the kind of person who reaches that goal." Maybe you believe you don't deserve success, or that change isn't possible for someone like you. But here's the truth. Those thoughts, they're just thoughts, not facts, not the absolute truth. They only have power if you give it to them. And the beautiful, empowering thing about thoughts is, you can choose new ones. Letting go also means releasing the weight of the past. And that often starts with forgiveness. Forgiving others, yes, but also forgiving yourself. We've all made mistakes. We've all been hurt. And at some point, hurt others too. But carrying the weight of guilt, resentment, or regret only anchors you to the past. And how can you fully show up for your future when your heart is still tied to yesterday? Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending the pain never happened. It doesn't mean excusing someone's actions. It means saying, "I choose to move forward." It's about deciding that your peace is more valuable than your bitterness. And that kind of release, that's a gift you give to yourself. Another form of letting go is releasing the need for control. Life is unpredictable. We all know that. Yet so often, we try to grip tightly to every outcome, every plan, every detail. And what does that bring? Stress, frustration, burnout. But when you loosen your grip, even just a little, you allow room for something greater to unfold. You begin to trust that if you're showing up and doing the work, life will meet you halfway. And sometimes, the best things come when you stop forcing them. And let's not forget one of the most powerful tools in this process, the word no. In the last part, we talked about the power of letting go, of the things, thoughts, and habits that no longer serve you. Now let's talk about one of the most difficult, yet most empowering acts of letting go, learning to say no. So many of us struggle with this. We don't want to disappoint others. We don't want to seem rude, or we're afraid of missing out on something. That might be a good opportunity. But here's the truth. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your goals or your values, you're saying no to yourself. You're giving away your most valuable resources, your time, your focus, your energy to something that doesn't serve your growth. And over time, those small choices add up. They can slowly pull you off track, even if your intentions were good. Saying no doesn't make you selfish. It makes you selective. It means you're choosing to protect what matters most. It means you're choosing to say yes to the things that actually add value to your life. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is say no with love and confidence. Yes, the process of letting go, whether it's people, habits, commitments, or old beliefs, can feel uncomfortable. At first, it might stir up guilt or fear. But on the other side of that discomfort is something powerful: freedom. When you release what's no longer serving you, you lighten your emotional and mental load. You begin to feel lighter, more focused, more at peace. You make space for new experiences, new insights, and new possibilities. Suddenly, you're no longer dragging unnecessary baggage through life. Every step forward becomes easier, more intentional, more meaningful. As you continue to let go, something beautiful starts to happen. You begin to see what really matters. You realize that not everything deserves your attention. Not every invitation needs a yes. Not every problem is yours to solve. You become more intentional with how you spend your time, more protective of your energy, more focused on what brings you true joy rather than temporary satisfaction. You start building a life that feels aligned, not with what others expect of you, but with who you really are. There's a quiet but profound peace that comes from this shift. You stop clinging to what was. You stop resisting what's changing, and instead, you start welcoming what could be. Life begins to flow, not because it's suddenly easy, but because you are no longer fighting it. In that flow, you discover parts of yourself you may have forgotten, new strengths, new passions, and new doorways to growth. But here's something important to remember. Letting go isn't a one-time event. It's a practice, a lifelong habit that takes awareness and courage. There will always be things in your life that need releasing, things that once served you but no longer do. The more you practice letting go, the easier it becomes, the more natural it feels. It's about consistently checking in with yourself, asking, is this still serving me? And having the courage to release whatever the answer says you don't need. So if there's something, big or small, that's been weighing on your heart, pause, take a deep breath, and gently consider, is it time to let this go? Trust that letting go doesn't mean losing. It means making space for something better. Because when you create that space, incredible things can happen. New clarity, new motivation, new growth. Because here's the truth. When you let go, you open your life to possibility. And one of the most powerful ways to honor that space and truly stop wasting time is to take consistent, intentional action toward your goals. Previously, we talked about letting go and how creating space can open the door to new growth and possibility. But once that space is clear, there's one thing that brings everything to life: action. Action is the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. It's where real progress is made, where growth takes root, and where dreams begin to shift from thoughts to reality. But let's be honest, taking action can feel overwhelming, especially when your goals feel big or the road ahead looks uncertain. You might find yourself thinking, where do I even begin? But here's the truth. You don't need the whole path laid out in front of you to get started. You don't need the perfect timing, the perfect plan, or ideal conditions. What you do need is to take that very first step, then take the next, and then the one after that. Because action creates momentum. And once you start moving, even slowly, it gets easier to keep going. It's like trying to push a car. The hardest part is getting it to budge from a standstill. But once the wheels start turning, you pick up speed. You find your rhythm. Things begin to flow. Still, one of the biggest things that holds us back isn't the size of the task. It's our mindset. We wait for motivation to magically appear. We wait to feel ready. But motivation is a feeling. And feelings, they come and go. If you depend on motivation alone, you'll be stuck more often than not. What you need is discipline. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. It's keeping your promises to yourself. It's showing up, even when the excitement has faded, even when no one's watching. Discipline is what turns intentions into action and dreams into outcomes. Another roadblock that often sneaks in is fear. Fear of failing. Fear of making mistakes. And yes, even fear of succeeding. Because success often brings change, responsibility, and the pressure to keep going. But let's reframe that. Mistakes, they're not proof of failure. They're part of the process. In fact, failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the journey to it. Every person you admire, every overnight success you see, has failed at some point, probably many times. The difference is, they didn't stop. They learned, they adjusted, and they kept moving forward. Each time you take action, even when you're afraid, you build confidence. You show yourself that fear doesn't get to be in charge. You do. That simple act of showing up despite the doubt changes how you see yourself. And then there's overthinking, the silent killer of momentum. We get stuck in our heads, planning, preparing, perfecting, but never doing. That cycle, it's called analysis paralysis. And it can leave you spinning your wheels for weeks, months, or even years. Yes, planning has its place. But results only come from one thing: action. You don't have to get it perfect, you just have to get it going. As you move forward, you'll learn, you'll adapt, you'll grow. The path becomes clearer with every step you take. What once seemed impossible starts to feel manageable. And before you even realize it, you've made real progress. Remember, consistency doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean you'll never miss a day or that you won't mess up. It simply means you show up more often than not. You stay in the game. You keep going, even when things get hard. It's about being persistent, being resilient, and most of all, being committed to the person you're becoming. Earlier, we talked about the power of consistent action and how it can move your life forward, even when progress feels slow. But here's an important reminder. This journey is not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Getting off track is part of the process. Life isn't a straight line, and neither is personal growth. There will be highs and lows, days when you feel unstoppable, and days when just getting out of bed is a win. But what truly matters is that you keep showing up, because those small daily actions, they compound over time. Think of it like a snowball rolling downhill. At first it's tiny, it takes effort just to get it going. But as it rolls, it picks up more snow. It gains momentum. It grows, larger, faster, stronger. That's exactly how your actions work. The more consistent you are, the more power you build, and the more impactful your results become. One of the most effective ways to stay consistent is by building habits and routines that support your goals. When something becomes a habit, it stops requiring massive effort. It becomes automatic, just part of your day. Whether it's carving out quiet time each morning for a passion project, going for a walk, or taking a few moments to reflect, those simple routines help keep you aligned, even on days when motivation is nowhere to be found. And let's talk about accountability. It might seem like a small thing, but having someone to walk alongside you, or even just cheer you on, can make a big difference. Share your goals with someone you trust. Find a friend, mentor, or community that supports your growth, not to pressure you, but to support you. Someone who can give you that nudge when you're drifting. Someone who believes in you, even on days when you forget to believe in yourself. And here's something we often overlook. Celebrate your progress. So, many people only look at the finish line. They chase the big win and miss all the small victories along the way. But those small wins matter. Every single one is a step forward. Every tiny bit of growth is proof that you're moving in the right direction. Recognizing your progress boosts your motivation, strengthens your belief, and reminds you that yes, you can do this. Because at the end of the day, the difference between those who succeed and those who don't usually comes down to one thing: action, not talent, not luck, not even timing. It's about showing up, doing the work, and being consistent, especially on the days you don't feel like it, especially when progress feels invisible, because every small step still moves you forward. And before you know it, those steps add up to miles. So if you're serious about focusing on yourself and no longer wasting your time, start today. Take that first small step, then take another and another. Keep going, keep moving. You'll be amazed at how far you'll come. Because when you take consistent action, you're not just making progress, you're changing your life. Focusing on yourself and cutting out what doesn't serve you is more than a decision. It's a deep personal commitment, a promise to your own growth, your own peace, your own happiness. It means knowing your worth, setting clear goals, refusing to get lost in comparison, letting go of what holds you back, and most importantly, showing up for yourself every single day. It's a journey that requires discipline, courage, patience, but the rewards, they're undeniable. You stop living on autopilot. You start living intentionally, with purpose, with clarity, with a sense of who you are and where you're going. So maybe today is the day you stop waiting, the day you choose yourself, the day you stop looking around and start looking within, the day you decide that your time, your energy, your dreams, they're worth it. Because when you choose to focus on yourself, you don't just change your own life, you lead by example. You give others permission to do the same. And that, my friends, is how real change begins.